About a year ago, almost exactly to this month, a year ago, I got a call from Evan Husney at Severin Films and asked me if I would be interested in taking part in this project. He explained a little bit about it. He basically said that there would be no money involved, very little, but you could have complete, total creative freedom. And he also told me the other filmmakers that were involved. So I was pretty much immediately interested. I was not so sure if I could do the film with the budgetary constraints that we had, because I'd been making films with a real budget for a while, but still the idea of, or the chance to just be able to make whatever I want, just write my own script and do a film was really fantastic. At the end, I couldn't turn it down, and I wanted to work with all the other filmmakers too. I never had final cut or total, complete creative freedom. Sometimes that's, sometimes it's not good to have total creative freedom. Sometimes it's better to have input from people. But ultimately, you got to have the last decision, and that's what you never got, never have. So this was a project where, we just had final cut, final say. There was nobody to tell us what to cut out or what to put in or what to shoot. That was really important to me. I mean, that made the fact of calling in favors and asking my friends and even asking complete strangers to work for free, that made it worthwhile because we were doing it for something important. I knew the other directors were really powerful in the genre. I'd seen their films. I'm a fan of their films. So I knew they were going to do something really powerful, and I knew they were going to be really strong in the genre. And I've never been really a genre filmmaker. It's always been interesting to me that I'm at these festivals because generally the true horror audience doesn't like my films because they're not horror films. My films are horrifying. So I thought what I had to do was just be true to myself and do what I do best. And what I do best, I think, is dramatic films with the best actors I could find, and then just have them take that left turn into bizarre land. And my approach to violence, I think, is what's attractive to the horror audience, because I believe when violence is shown, it should be shown shockingly and disgustingly and horrifying, and I've never shied away from that. So that's what I felt I needed to do in this film, is be true to myself, tell a dramatic story, and just have it veer off into the type of films that I always have made in the past. I also felt like, a marriage is such an intense thing, especially when a marriage is breaking up. I find that really horrifying and sad and tragic and brutal and cruel, and I thought that would be, that would be really horrifying to portray in all its ugly glory, and so that's what inspired me to do it. Also, we didn't have the budget to really go out and shoot on locations and have movements and company moves, so I needed to shoot something that was going to be internal and enclosed, something that takes place in one apartment. And I just thought two people breaking up in a marriage, it's so intense, it's like a war. I just thought that would be perfect for the whole situation. And I got to really just explore with that and kind of express my opinions of what that would be like, or my thoughts and feelings, and it came out better than I thought it would, actually. I don't have a favorite, but probably I was most curious to see Richard Stanley's piece, because I always admired Richard's films, and I always admired Richard. I really liked Richard a lot, and I hadn't seen any work from him in such a long time, and he's sort of a reclusive figure and a very mysterious figure, so I was really psyched to see his film. And I probably, I know Doug, and I know David, and I know Karim, and I didn't know Jeremy or Tom Savini, but I sort of knew where we were going to come from. And with Richard, I wasn't sure what to expect. And he didn't disappoint, that's for sure. The first piece that I saw was Doug Buck's, and when I saw it, I was sort of blown away because I realized, wow, these guys aren't fooling around. And I was scared because you have to be at your best, because these guys are at their best and they're doing such incredible work. And I think it's really the best work of everybody involved. So there was a little bit of fear on my regard because I didn't want to fail and I didn't want to disappoint. And yet I knew that the other films were coming out so fantastic. When I saw the effects in Karim's film, I really just I couldn't believe it with those eyeballs and the needles going in them. And it pushed me to do the best that I could and work as hard as I could because I wanted to come up to their level. And interestingly enough, I read David Gregory's script, Sweets, which Sweets and I Love You are so similar in tone and theme. And I think he and I were both a little bit concerned that it was almost the same film. And there was some thought of what should we do? Should we just change? Should one of us change? David was already in the film, so I was going to have to either write a new script. And then we talked about it, and we just said, we have such different personalities, and we have such different approaches that I think the films would be different enough And it turned out that way because David's tone is just so much more funny, and the dark humor in his film just comes across. And the colors are just, my film is almost just like, a monotone color, and David's film has so much vibrant color. And it was really great to see that, because that was interesting to see two filmmakers doing the same theme, but from different planets. And I think it came out really good. This is the only time in my career where I hadn't seen the film before it screened. Every time, every festival, every film, you see the film 1,000 times before it screens, because you're working on it. But in this situation, the wraparound with Udo Kier wasn't shot till very near the very end, and we didn't have a print. We didn't have a copy. David Gregory came here with a copy a day before the festival began. So for me, it was fantastic because I didn't know what to expect, and I hadn't seen the other films finished. I saw rough cuts and I saw bad quality QuickTime files. So the biggest surprise when I saw it for the first time was that it really works as a whole. I think that all the stories, connect somehow, and I think Udo Kier is a great puppet master for the stories, because what he says and what you're seeing on the stage reflects the story. Otherwise, it could have just been like 6 separate stories that have nothing to do with each other. And so for me, that was a surprise, because you can't plan that. That was just something that happened out of spirit or luck or whatever, because we couldn't design it to work that way. That was always the fear, that it was just going to be too disjointed. And it came out actually, really together. One of the reasons I wanted to do this film was because of this festival, because I knew from the names involved, I knew this was a Fantasia film. I knew that there was no way this film couldn't play at this festival, and I wanted to come back here with the film. And I told my wife as we were making the film, and it looked really hard, like how do we get the camera, how do we get everything for free? I just always pictured the day when we would be here. And I didn't want to miss that. There were times where I thought maybe I just can't do it. It'd be easier just to tell them, I'm sorry guys, I can't do the film. But I tell you, the Fantasia Festival was one of the reasons that just pushed me, because I really wanted to come back here with the film. This is the best festival you can be at with a film.